And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, roll, Atlantis.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside SPD off. Bring in SPD off. Off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
If the methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? We don't need any more of these.
Welcome to another NSF live stream. Today, we are launching a Falcon 9 out of Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, and we are launching yet another Starlink mission. I'm Jack Beyer, your host for this evening, and as always, I am joined by our ever-competent cohort of co-hosts, starting off with Mr. Ian Atkinson. Ian, how are you doing tonight?
I'm excited. I just got done with dinner, so I'm all full, and I'm ready to sit back, relax, and watch a Starlink launch.
You had a nice little din-din. What'd you have?
Steak, green beans, and French fries.
Jeez, I think that might be the
Right.
first Ian Flux ever on stream. Good job.
Thank you.
Good deal. Also, you just heard his ooh. We have Max Evans out in the field operating a camera tonight. Thank you for doing that, Max. How are you, good buddy?
Good evening, everybody. I feel bad for everyone who's tuned in tonight because of all three of us on the stream at the same time, I'm somewhat expecting YouTube to just suddenly and catastrophically implode. So, given all the tomfoolery that might happen tonight, but it is a wonderful night, a wonderful but muggy night for another Starlink mission.
Excellent stuff. All right. Well, am I forgetting anybody? Do we have anyone else on comms tonight? I don't think so.
We have Jay pushing the buttons and pulling the levers in the back studio.
That's right. We have Jay running in the giant human-sized hamster wheel that makes things go. So thank you, Jay, for doing that. As usual on our NSF live streams, if you have any questions, feel free to type them into chat. Just type at NASA Spaceflight, and we'll see your questions pop up in some software that we have running in the background. So feel free to ask away, and we will be able to pull your questions out and answer them. But as a quick overview of what we're going to see tonight and what this mission is, I am going to throw it to Ian.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jack. So we are out here with the Starlink Group 6-31 mission, the 36th mission of the Group 6 group of Starlinks. And what that basically means is we have 23 Starlink V2 mini satellites on board Falcon 9 today. This is really pushing Falcon 9 to its limits for low Earth orbit capability while still being able to reuse the first stage. And speaking of that first stage, this mission has booster 1078-6. So as the name suggests, this is the sixth flight of this booster here, which honestly is quite young in terms of the rest of the Falcon 9 fleet. I mean, we have some boosters getting up into like 18 missions, and so this booster is just at number 6, so it's a relatively young vehicle here. Now, this is going to be landing on the drone ship A Shortfall of Gravitas, positioned 629 kilometers downrange in the Atlantic Ocean. This vehicle tonight is going to be flying to the southeast out of Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. It's going to inject these 23 Starlink satellites into a 285 by 293 kilometer orbit inclined by 43 degrees. Now, this is SpaceX's 91st launch of the year, so they are on track to hit roughly 100 launches this year. It's really going to come down to the wire here, but either way, this is a record year for SpaceX and a phenomenal milestone in and of itself. This is the second launch of the month so far. We already had a launch out of Vandenberg the other day. And this is the 258th Falcon orbital launch since Amos 6, and overall the 278th Falcon 9 orbital flight. So a lot of big numbers there, but basically this is one of many Falcon 9 missions we've seen so far this year, and hopefully even more next year.
Good deal. Well, More internet satellites getting ready to head to space in just under 35 minutes. Max, give us a sit rep. What's the situation on the ground like tonight?
It is unlike a typical day in Florida in December because it is it's pretty warm, but it is also incredibly muggy out tonight. I don't know if you can notice on the camera, but there's a slight haze on the horizon because it is very, very, very humid tonight, and the mosquitoes are, of course, out in force. But otherwise, there are just mild scattered clouds, and I can see plenty of stars tonight, which is wonderful. But with the exception of the humidity, which is more of a personal problem, to be honest, everything is looking great for launch tonight.
Excellent. Well, maybe the humidity will give you some extra crispy launch audio. So we'll stay tuned.
Affirmative.
We'll stay tuned for that. Ooh, right off the bat, we have it's not really a question, it's more of a comment from Dr. Holly saying, Hi Max, Ian, and Jack, but, I don't have a button I can, there it is. Haha. Hi, Dr. Holly.
Hi, Dr. Holly.
Hi, Dr. Holly.
Good deal. Also, we have a question here from Eric Hall asking, is Falcon's boost back burn different than Starship's procedure-wise? I mean, the booster separates from the second stage, does a little flippy flip, and continues burning in the opposite direction. I guess on the Falcon 9, the burn stops and then starts again after the flip.
Yeah,
Ian, Max.
Okay.
No, Max. No, Max is like ready and raring to go tonight. Go ahead, Max.
Go, Max.
No, it's all good. So yes, the burns are different, mostly by the fact of course, Falcon 9 has 9 engines, and of course, Starship's booster has 33 Raptors. And during the main engine cutoff process, Falcon 9 shuts off all 9 Merlins, and of course, because of the now hot staging technique that SpaceX is implementing with Starship moving forward, they keep the center 3 Raptors running on the booster, so there is constant thrust coming from the first stage of Starship. Whereas I believe, Ian, correct me if I'm wrong on this, I believe it is a 3-engine boost back burn, or is it all 9? Depending on what it's doing.
I was talking while muted. Are you talking about Starship, right?
This is Falcon 9 I'm talking about.
Oh, so Falcon 9 only does 3-engine boost back burns. And those are only for RTLS, return to launch site missions, or if they want to do kind of a short downrange drone ship, they could do a partial boost back to kind of slow it down a bit and drop it into the ocean.
Excellent. All right, well, as you can see on the screen there, if you look at the, maybe a quarter up the way on the sooty Falcon 9 booster, you can see some frost forming. Good job, Max. That was good teamwork. So that means that SpaceX is beginning to flow propellants into the vehicle, which is exactly what we want to see at this point in the count. So we are on track for the first T0 of the night. Now, SpaceX has been doing a thing with Starlinks for a little while now where they have multiple T0s. They're all sort of instantaneous, but they typically, as we get close to launch, will coalesce and target a single one of the T0s. So it looks like everything is on track for the first T0 that is available to them tonight. Really quickly, we have some support coming in. Thank you, as always, to everyone who supports what we do. Musical Wolves being one of the people that always comes out repeatedly every stream. I don't know how you do it, Musical Wolves, but thank you. They are asking, when Starship is operationally, I assume they mean operational, will we see both Falcon 9 and Starlink, or will we see both Falcon 9 and Starship launching Starlinks simultaneously? Ooh. This is a question I don't think we've gotten before. When Starship is active, will we see both Falcon 9 and Starship launching Starlinks? You know, I think the answer to that really is it depends. Like, what kind of cadence are they going to be able to get out of Starship initially? Like, Ian, go ahead.
Yeah, so we know for sure that they want to start launching Starlink as soon as possible on Starship, like potentially within the next few missions. We don't have any exact numbers on that, of course, but that seems to be what they're gearing up for. So because of that, I mean, obviously there's going to be overlap between Falcon 9 and Starship. Of course, Starship will be taking the larger full-size V2 satellites, or whatever they have cooked up since they since they made up this numbering scheme. They could have updated the satellites some more. But yeah, Falcon 9 is going to keep flying Starlinks for really as long as they can until Starship is just so much cheaper or getting up so much more bandwidth for the same amount of effort as Falcon 9 or even less. So they're going to keep flying side by side until it's not really worth it anymore for Falcon 9 to. So I would not be shocked if Falcon 9 is launching Starlinks until like at least like 2025, 2026. That would not surprise me. We know Falcons are going to be launching at least into the next decade. They're going to keep them online for customers like NASA who need Crew Dragon or other customers who want to use the reliability of Falcon 9 and not quite yet ready for Starship. But these vehicles are going to be flying side by side a lot over the next few years.
Yeah, I would kind of agree to that. I think it'll take a little while for Starship's cadence to ramp to the point that they need it to get to, and it wouldn't surprise me if both vehicles are launching Starlinks at the same time. Now, of course, Falcon 9 can only launch the Starlink V2 mini version of the satellites, which is what we're seeing launch tonight, 23 of them, whereas Starship can launch the full-sized Starlink V2 satellites, or like Ian just said, whatever variant of Starlink satellite is the current one when Starship does eventually start launching satellites. So there's a little bit of a difference in capability between the two satellites. However, I think in terms of getting a fully kitted out and fully satellited out, whatever you want to call it, constellation, it would make sense to sort of launch with both. Max, what do you think?
I mean, both of you pretty much took the words right out of my mouth. Of course, there will be a period where technically they're both flying Starlinks because of course, I think the next few, at some point, they want to start flying Starlink V2s as more of a test payload for mass simulation. Well, not so much simulation, but also to see if the PEZ dispenser deployment system works.
Right.
But by technicality, if Starlink is still flying the V2 minis, yes, of course, they will be flying both versions of Starlink at one time.
I mean, oh man, remind me, how many Starlink satellites are supposed to be launched in the like ultimate final finished configuration? Is it like 30,000? That's what my brain says. I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, just under 30,000, 29,989.
Thank you,
according to Alex in the back channel. Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Alex, for that in the back channel. So right now, I think they have between, I want to say 5,000 and 6,000 in orbit, and that is solely on the back of Falcon 9. So either way, even when Starship is up and running, and even if, and assuming correctly, that Starship would be able to launch many more than 23 V2 satellites, that's a lot of satellites. So it's a really good question from Musical Wolves. So thank you, Musical Wolves, as always, for all of your support and interesting questions. Paul Betraw, thank you for the support there. I'd rather be flying an X-Wing, another one of those common names that pops up all the time. They say, along with their super chat, Jack, the beard was glorious, and it being gone makes me a sad panda. In other news, how many more launches until the Starlink constellation is fully deployed? Well, first off, don't worry, I'd rather be flying an X-Wing. Beards grow back. And second off, well, if there's 30,000 satellites, and we're currently between like 5,000 and 6,000, somewhere in there, I think it's safe to say many, many, many more launches. With 23 satellites per Falcon 9, you can do the math. Obviously, Starship throws a wrench in the works a little bit there, math-wise, but you can figure it out. A lot of launches, I think, suffice to say. Does anyone have anything to add here?
There is plenty more to come.
Yes.
Plenty more.
And even when they get to 30,000 on orbit, they still have to maintain some number of launches in order to maintain the constellation because satellites are constantly being deorbited. That's sort of the whole modus operandi of the Starlink system is you can make these satellites, you can make them cheap. If some of them are not functioning to their fullest capability or malfunctioning in some way, or if they're just experiencing a lot of atmospheric drag from not being a super high orbit, just launch more.
My telescope does shed a tear every time you say 30,000 satellites, but I'll have to live with it somehow.
30,000 satellites.
Jack,
30,000 satellites, Ian.
Jack.
30,000 satellites, Ian.
Jack, you're getting into astrophotography too, so you should not be talking.
I have already been Starlinked, so you're not wrong. All right, let's do some more questions. Oh God, I can't believe I'm going to do this. James Howard is asking, Stubby tonight? If so, then yay. No, tonight is not the bad nozzle. Max, tell us why it's not the bad nozzle.
Sad face. Well, because of the weight of all is it 22 or 23 V2 minis on board tonight?
I thought it was
23.
Yeah, I thought it was 23.
Because of the weight of all 23 V2 minis, which are actually pretty beefy and bulky, they need the maximum performance out of the second stage. And because of that, they need to go with the full-size nozzle because as much as we don't like to talk about it, the stubby nozzle does sacrifice some performance in ISP or specific impulse. But the main benefits of the stubby nozzle are reduced cost and I believe a faster manufacturing time. But that can only be utilized for payloads that have that specific either prop or performance margin where that is acceptable. So for super heavy payloads on Falcon 9 like tonight, they need the full-size nozzle.
Yeah, I couldn't have put it better myself. Surprisingly level-headed take on the nozzle situation from Max. Thank you for that, Max. So I guess
for life.
In summary, the stubby nozzle is the quick and cheap nozzle, and the other nozzle is the good one. Okay, moving on.
Nicely.
Moving on, another super chat from Musical Wolves. Thank you, buddy. They say, is there enough weight to add bacon to the payload? Well, based on what Max just said, I'm going to guess no. We've recently seen SpaceX move from 22 to 23 Starlink V2 minis on a Falcon 9, and that's probably right at the edge of their performance margin, even with the aforementioned better nozzle.
I'm sure you could toss a slice of bacon on top there and it'd be fine, but
Yeah, maybe like a slice. Put it
Famous
right on the
last
top.
words, perhaps.
Put it right on the top of the thermal protection on top of the fairing, that like chrome little bit right on the tip.
Nice.
Just cook it up good.
Yep.
Joe Bernard would be proud. Let's see here. Astro 3DI is asking, as there are 6 proposed moon missions, we're doing questions all over the place here as we wait for Falcon 9 to get fully fueled up. But you know what? We'll do it. Astro 3DI, as there are 6 proposed moon missions in 2024 using Falcon 9, 2 more will use a Falcon Heavy. Do you see Falcon 9 being increasingly important for deep space missions? Ian, what do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Falcon 9's already been approved to, let's see, so they're launching Falcon Heavy is launching the Roman Space Telescope. Falcon 9 launched the Euclid Space Telescope. It's launched the Discover mission into solar orbit. The several moon missions that you did discuss before, Falcon Heavy is launching resupply to the Gateway. So yeah, I mean, Falcon 9 is really limited in what it can do for deep space. I mean, I think it can get like 4 tons of payload to Mars, fully expendable, something along those lines. So it's very limited in what you can get. Falcon Heavy is usually a better option, but there are definitely times where you can use a Falcon 9 to get into deep space. You're probably not going to be sending anything to like Jupiter on a Falcon 9, that's for sure. Europa Clipper is launching on Falcon Heavy next year, but Falcon 9 does have its it has its points that it can get to. But I think Falcon Heavy is definitely going to be the more popular deep space option.
Cough. A Falcon 9 launch dart. Cough.
Oh, it did. I was trying to scour my mind. It's launched so many missions. Yeah, Falcon 9 did crash a payload into an asteroid. So
it did. I think that was the most extreme trajectory Falcon 9 has flown any payload on to this point thus far, I believe.
It was an exceptionally light payload, right? But they launched it on a Falcon 9 because it needed that much velocity in order to do its thing. And you know what? Take that, asteroid. That's for the dinosaurs.
It crashed a little too good because I think they were trying to offset the asteroid's trajectory by like reducing its orbital period by 30 minutes, and I think they got like 54 minutes reduced or something. So it crashed really well.
Nice. And not something you can say often.
Yeah.
Something we can say often, though, is that we are coming up on what we like to call the best vent, which is, of course, the T-minus 20-minute vent that Falcon 9 does as it progresses through its countdown flow. You can see the countdown there on the left-hand side. Ian, what is the deal with that T-minus 20-minute vent?
Yeah, so the big vent you can see just starting up there, about halfway up the vehicle. Like Jack said, the T-minus 20-minute vent. That signifies that they are beginning to clean out the lines, chill down the lines to get ready for stage 2 RP1 and liquid oxygen loading. Now, what they're doing there, they're chilling the lines down and they're cleaning it out with liquid nitrogen. This vent is going to last about 2 minutes or so. And then when the vent is finished, then we know that they're getting into second stage propellant loading. So at T-minus 16 minutes, just under 4 minutes from now, liquid oxygen loading on the second stage is going to commence. So they're starting to chill the lines down, get them all cleared out with this liquid nitrogen. And that signifies we're getting deeper into the countdown. Also, while we have that vent going on, if you take a look at the first stage, the frost line on the liquid oxygen tank is starting to get higher and higher and higher as that tank is being loaded with liquid oxygen as well. So getting deep into the countdown, we now are about to have all 4 tanks being loaded with propellants, and another good sign that we are go for launch in just over 19 minutes from now.
Talking while muted, Jack. Cough.
Hey, thanks, Max. Thank you. Right, so that is precisely what we want to see at this point in the countdown, and exactly as planned. Nothing is wrong with Falcon 9. This is the way it lets us know, hey, everything is going great. I'm just getting ready to launch. Max, since you are always out there for these late night Starlinks, and since I do believe they hit different, as you have said many times, how does this vent make you feel when you see it? Because you've seen it many times, but it's a good sign, right? Like, do you feel good when you see the T-minus 20-minute vent?
I was going to say it makes me feel all warm and bubbly, but that would be inappropriate for what it actually is. So I would say it brings on emotions and feelings of chill.
So you're chilling, is what you would say.
We're chilling. We are just chilling out here. We are just chilling.
We're
Good
just
deal.
being chilling out here in Cape Canaveral.
Just guys being dudes.
Heck yeah.
Paul Betreau, thank you for the super chat. Very generous of you there. Tree Roller, new member coming in as a pad rat. Thank you for that so much. And Rock Tiki coming in as a red team member. In case y'all don't know, we have a membership program as part of our YouTube channel. You can sign up for that and provide us with a monthly amount of support at whatever level you choose. And the different levels provide you with different perks. So you can get, members only emoji. In fact, I'm going to throw a bunch of star hoppers into chat because
Hoppy's nice.
I was just going to say.
Respect Star Hopper, okay? We're going to call it by its proper
full
name.
of restarts.
Oh, God. Why? Why did I choose Star Hopper? No, it's Star Hopper, okay? It's Star Hopper or Hopper. Those are the only 2 acceptable names, so saith I.
False. That it is Hoppy. It's 2 against 1 here, Jack. You can't win. Sorry.
Anyways, moving on. The membership program rules. Thank you to all of our members. Couldn't do what we do without you. Star Hopper. All right. Hamed, thank you for the super chat. They say, thinking of going to see Falcon Heavy launch this coming Sunday, depending on launch time. Any ideas on when it could be? Can't find any information online. It is a sort of a, shall we say, classified-ish mission, right, Max?
The Space Force is only going to tell us what they want to tell us, which is not very much, unfortunately. What we can tell you is that based on the views we have from Space Coast Live, Falcon Heavy actually was just going vertical when we were getting set up here to go live. So that should mean static fire should be some point soon, but we don't know exactly when yet, unfortunately. But from what we can see with our Mark 1 eyeballs, she's getting ready.
All right, us. Excellent. Yeah, you can see there Falcon Heavy on the left-hand side of the screen. That is Launch Complex 39A, which is just across the way from Slick 40. So Falcon Heavy is vertical there on the pad, and hopefully we see a static fire of it here soon. Sorry we don't have more detailed information, Hamed, but stay tuned to NSF, follow the socials, do all the things, and you'll know as soon as we do. That's at least for sure. Lalo, thank you for the super chat. We really appreciate that. They say, wow, I wish to see launches in person, but can't due to funds, but watching NSF streams get me through. One day, hopefully. Indeed, you'll get there. Don't fret.
Definitely worth it. If you have the opportunity, we hope that you're able to get to Cape Canaveral or Vandenberg or Wallops gang out here, and to see a launch.
And thankfully, you are spoiled for choice nowadays because there are so many So many to choose from.
Yes, this is like the second golden era of spaceflight. So we are in a very lucky time right now.
Right. Yeah, you both took the words right out of my mouth. It used to be where, you had a very small window with which to see a launch, and there was like one launch that you could possibly see because that was the only rocket launching in any given time frame. But now it's like, hey, you go to Florida, you spend some time in and around the Space Coast, and there's multiple launches a week. So, and it's going to be that way for quite a while, given the rate of Starlink launches that we were talking about earlier and the necessary number of satellites they're going to have to launch. So do not fret, Lalo. And thanks for watching our streams. In a lot of ways, I do feel like these streams are I don't want to say superior, but like equally good as being there in person. Obviously, being there in person rules. But if you can't be, at least you have the ability to watch this stuff online. Plus, you're not like fighting the mosquitoes or dealing with low internet signal. I mean, Max, have the mosquitoes carried you away yet?
It sure feels like they're about to at this point. Unfortunately, they are getting so feisty, and while they may not compare in the summer to the absolute dinosaurs of bugs that are in Boca, Jack, they can get pretty nasty out here, and they are pretty much everything in Florida is built different, but the bugs and the mosquitoes in particular are especially built different. Yikes! There was one just now.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, the mosquitoes out there at the Space Coast are absolutely brutal. But I will say today I put bug spray on before walking out to one of our robot sites, and I put bug spray on again in the middle of the walk, and then I put bug spray on again once I got there because the mosquitoes were that ferocious. But anyways, we all deal with what we have to deal with in order to photograph rockets. Speaking of photographing rockets, we have the metal print store. In fact, we have all kinds of cool merch, but the metal prints are especially cool because a portion of the sale of each print goes to the photographer that photographed that particular image. So we have all kinds of images. We have Atlas, we have Delta, we have Starship, of course, a whole bunch of photos from Starship's second integrated flight test. We have the cool Rocket Garden image. We have Falcon Heavy, which again is coming up on a launch here soon. All kinds of awesome images in the launch image store, no, in the metal print store. I can't even talk anymore. Falcon Heavy looking good. Hopefully we get some good imagery coming up here from this next launch of it. But either way, we have metal prints in the shop. Again, part of the sale goes to support the photographer, and the cool part is you can input a message when you make a store purchase in the same way that you can input a message when you do a super chat, so we can see that and read it out on stream. You can be anonymous, you can put your name in, whatever you like to do. I'm not the coolest, don't say that, it's a lie. Alright, that's the metal print shop. Go check out whatever you like. Oh, also the membership program, check it out. We have a little diagram here of the different levels of support. At PadRat, you get your name highlighted in chat. You get a custom emoji. Well, you get all the custom emoji. And you get the 4K multi-view of major Starbase streams. At Red Team and above, or at Red Team and below, sorry, you get additional member-exclusive videos and photo uploads, as well as photo uploads. At Capcom level and above, you get access to the NSF member Discord, where there's a whole bunch of stuff, and it went away. Anyways, we have various levels of the membership program, and it's quite nice. So be sure to check it out. If you get gifted a membership, you now have access to some cool perks. All right. And I gotta say, the Discord is awesome. I mean, it's amazing. There's all kinds of different channels. I could go on and on about the Discord, but we're just over 11 minutes away from launch, so let's move on. Speaking of getting gifted a membership, Bideford, thank you so much, Bideford. Another one of those names that pops up basically every stream. Gifting 10 Red Team memberships. So once again, if you get one of those memberships, be sure to check out your new sweet perks that you didn't even have to do anything to get, because Bideford is just so awesome. Thank you, Bideford. All right, well, T-minus 10 minutes, 40 seconds. Let's do some more questions as we get closer to launch. And then, Max, I know at some point we're going to have to bid you adieu so you can do the old camera operation thing. But let's do some more questions. Kathy L is asking, how is it decided whether the launch is from Florida or California? I imagine that is dependent on the particular inclination the satellites are going to, right, Ian?
Yeah, so it depends on what orbit you want to get into. For Florida, for Cape Canaveral, you can get into the ISS's orbit. You can go to Hubble's orbit, a Starlink orbit, obviously. You can even, I'm very, very sorry, Jack, but you can even get into a polar orbit now from
Go
Cape
away.
Canaveral.
Go away.
But from Vandenberg on the West Coast, from the West Coast,
West
you're
Coast.
more limited because you have Mexico in the way, you have the rest of California and the continental US in the way. So you can only launch anywhere between southeast, you can launch south, you can launch west, northwest, but that's really all that you're limited to. So if you want to launch into polar orbit, the West Coast is for you. If you want to launch to the ISS, East Coast is for you. It also comes down to, because Starlink has different groups now and different orbital planes, it comes down to whenever a pad is available. So if a pad's available in California, let's ship some satellites out there, launch it into a different plane. If a pad in Florida is available, ship some satellites there, let's launch those into a different plane. So it depends on what mission you want and what kind of orbit you're going into. So specifically, this mission we're looking at right now, Starlink 6-31, this is launching into a 43-degree inclined orbit. So not super inclined. You can see here it's launching to the southwest, skirting just above the Bahamas. Now,
Southeast.
Southeast, my bad. Get directions wrong sometimes. On the upper left, you can see that's where Cape Canaveral is, where the vehicle's starting up. And in the bottom right, that large orange kind of oval-shaped thing, that is where the first stage is landing and where the fairings will be landed on today's mission. So going to be skirting just north of the Bahamas as it goes southeast from Cape Canaveral. Meanwhile, this map here is showing the re-entry zone for the second stage. So after they deploy those Starlink satellites, the second stage will deorbit itself. And in that long, narrow yellow corridor right there, just south of Africa, that's where the second stage is going to burn up and re-enter in the coming few hours. So those are all the trajectories we're looking at for today's mission here. And that's coming up in just over 8 minutes from now.
It's like a big smiley face on Africa. Go ahead, Max. Say something more intelligent than that.
Well, I wouldn't say it's more intelligent, but I was going to say I can almost hear you grinding your teeth as Ian is explaining the breadth of capability you can get from the East Coast alone. So I just want to say it's a beautiful thing.
Sure. Cool. Well, and I also just have to mention that wasn't orange, Ian. That was very clearly yellow. Get your eyes checked.
For the Africa one, I thought I said yellow.
For the other one, you said orange. I don't know.
That was orange.
I'm an orange.
Jack is an orange connoisseur.
Yes, thank you, Max. One thing we can agree on.
The one thing.
Yeah, the one thing. The one thing. Coming up on T-minus 7 minutes. Let's do one more question and then let's tell Max that he can run and operate a camera. Let's see. Z is asking, I may have missed it, but which booster is flying this mission? Ian?
Yeah, so this is booster 1078-6. So this is the sixth flight of this booster, once again, 1078. So it's relatively young in terms of the rest of the Falcon 9 fleet. This booster previously flew on the Crew 6 mission, O3B mPower 2, Starlink 6-4, Starlink 6-8, and Starlink 6-16. So this booster has seen 3 Starlink launches before here. It launched the O3B mPower 2 satellite, and it launched 4 people into orbit on the Crew 6 mission. That was its debut flight quite a while ago. I think Crew 6 has landed already. So yeah, very busy booster, but it's still young in terms of Falcon 9 booster manifest. This was a 78-day turnaround, so pretty long turnaround as well. I'm not sure exactly what was happening there, but yeah, that's what we're looking at today, the 6th flight of this booster.
Good
you
deal.
can see on the left the manifest of this booster, the past missions on next spaceflight. So be sure to use next spaceflight for your launch schedule, launch manifest, and it has information on every Falcon 9 booster and every mission that each booster has done.
Yeah, a lot of times people will ask me, what's a good resource to know when a launch is coming up? And I'm like, well, are you not following NASA Spaceflight on Twitter? And you know what? If you're not, you can always go to Next Spaceflight because Next Spaceflight rules and is actually now part of NASA Spaceflight. All right, Max, should we let you go operate a camera? How are you feeling? Are you feeling good?
I am feeling sticky. But otherwise feeling great. there is now a beautiful waning gibbous moon coming out from over the Atlantic Ocean right now, and the skies look to be pretty clear. So I'm feeling pretty good, but it may be time to head off and operate some of these cameras for liftoff for y'all. So I will see you both on the other side.
See you, Max. Good luck.
Have a good track. I know you will, because you're a consummate professional, even if we disagree on Hopper versus Hoppy. Speaking of which, Hopper won the poll. So, canonically, it's Hopper.
Blasphemy.
Yeah, no, this is rigged. This is a kangaroo court.
You always say that.
Honestly, it is. Because it's true.
This is a kangaroo court.
All right, go operate the camera, Max. I will be normal. We can all be normal. We're normal. ARP Taco, thank you for the support. They say, just watching the new Godzilla, and they sank my favorite ship. Now I'm here because your streams always cheer me up. Take my money. Thank you so much. I haven't heard anything good about the new Godzilla, but I digress. Lalo with another super chat. Thank you so much, Lalo. They say, straight up, you guys are so awesome. Thanks for these kind words. Always cool to hear my name by you guys. Well, once again, Lalo, thank you for the support. Just over now, 4 minutes to go, and we're going to see another vent here at T-minus 2 minutes, so we'll keep our eyes out for that. And just now, it may be a little bit hard to see, but the strong-backed is beginning to retract. Ian, what's the deal with the strong-backed retracting?
Yeah, so there are two strongback retractions we're going to see during this countdown. The first one will retract the strongback by only about 1.5 degrees. And just real quick, if anyone is unsure what the strongback is, it is basically a large truss structure, similar in size to Falcon 9, that they use to raise Falcon 9 vertical on the launch pad. Now, Falcon 9 is integrated horizontally, meaning that the rocket is laid over on its side to put it together. Very, very easy to work with compared to vertically integrating. But anyway, so the strongback is vertical right next to the Falcon 9. You can't see it right now. The large truss in front of Falcon 9 is actually the crew access tower. That was very recently constructed on Pad 40, and it's still weird to see it now on these launches. But behind the crew access tower, there is the strongback. Actually, we can kind of see the base of it here now, right parallel of Falcon 9. Now, that's going to be rotating away 1.5 degrees to get a little bit of clearance. Now, that's just a temporary retraction, because right at liftoff, actually, you can kind of see it there, just to the left of the rocket. That's the strongback. Right at liftoff, the strongback will throw back, which is when it very rapidly retracts to a 45-degree angle. That gets it out of the way of the engine plumes and any of the exhaust and the fire and the heat, so that it doesn't get damaged. That happens right at liftoff, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, they're just getting it kind of primed now and getting it a little bit out of the way, so right at liftoff, it can fling itself back.
Excellent. And we're hearing now via our back channel, and Alex, thank you, Alex, that Stage 1 LOX load is complete, and we're coming up on T-minus 2 minutes, so we should see that 2-minute vent that we typically see with Falcon 9. Ian, that's basically the same, in a way, as the 20-minute vent, right?
Yeah, so it's pretty similar, except at this time, they're now beginning to purge the lines, get the oxygen, get the RP1, get those all out of the lines, because you don't want anything flammable inside your strongback, anything flammable near your rocket, because there's going to be a lot of flames. There's going to be a lot of heat in about 2 minutes from now. We've just passed under T-minus 2 minutes. So you want to get all your propellants out of your strongback to avoid any fires, any possible explosions as well. So you can see now a bit of purging from the strongback. That's totally normal. We're going to see venting continue up until the final few seconds of launch. So as we get closer to T0, right now we're at about T-minus 1 minute 30 seconds, you're going to see vents begin to close and the vehicle pressurize itself for flight.
Excellent. And there is that vent as we approach T-minus 1 minute to go here in just about 15 seconds. Ian, what happens at T-minus 1 minute?
Yeah, there's a lot of things happening in about 10 seconds from now. So first off, the computers on board the vehicle are going to take complete control of the countdown. Then the propellant tanks are going to pressurize themselves to flight pressure. Falcon 9 gets a lot of its structural rigidity from the pressure inside its tanks. It's like a soda can. If you have a pressurized soda can, you could stand on it no problem, but the minute you open it and it loses that pressure, it is extremely weak. So Falcon 9 uses a very similar mechanism there. Coming up at T-minus 45 seconds, so right now, we're going to get the final go for launch from the launch director. Now, if all looks good, we're going to keep going through the countdown here, and at T-minus 3 seconds, we're going to see engine ignition. We got confirmation.
We are go for launch.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Excellent. All right, well, let's send 23 more Starlink V2 mini satellites into orbit atop this Falcon 9, and let's watch and listen in. We will be quiet for launch so that you can hear the glorious sounds of Falcon 9, and maybe we'll even get a little bit of vehicle assembly building squeal, which happens with these launches. But here we go. T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Green
Ignition.
flash.
And liftoff of Falcon 9, carrying 23 more Starlink satellites on Starlink mission 6-31. Let's listen in. Excellent. Now that Falcon 9 first stage is powering the stack into orbit, and you can see one of the coolest things to see with a rocket launch, the exhaust plume beginning to expand as the vehicle ascends into thinner and thinner atmosphere. Great track here from Max, and looks like Falcon 9 is transonic and now supersonic.
Yeah, now we're coming up in about 30 seconds. We're going to have main engine cutoff for those 9 engines with those very expanded plumes you can see right now. Those are going to shut down, followed closely after by second stage separation and second stage ignition. And I got to say, this is my favorite part of ascent because the colors and the shape of the plumes as it's getting higher into Earth's upper atmosphere is gorgeous. You can see all 9 engine plumes there. It's kind of going through the clouds a bit, but wow, that blue color is striking, and it makes me so excited to see nighttime Starship launches. We have main
Right.
engine off there.
All right, now we'll keep an eye open for second engine start. Hopefully Max still has it. There we go.
Oh, look at that. Wow.
Max is a pro.
And you can still see the first stage trailing away there for a moment. That was tremendous.
All right, so what happens next, Ian?
Yeah, so we got about 5.5 minutes here of second stage burn, or actually closer to 6 minutes of second stage burn. Now, the second stage is going to do a lot of the kind of heavy lifting here of accelerating the payloads. So the second stage is going to inject them into a low parking orbit, but meanwhile, the first stage is going to coast for a bit. The first stage is going to continue to ascend a little bit. It'll reach apogee and then start coming back down. In terms of the first stage, we're going to see the re-entry burn or entry burn happen in just under 3 minutes. Now, that's going to be where the first stage ignites 3 of its engines in a 1-3-1 burn. So it ignites the center engine, 2 outer engines, and then shuts down those outer engines for just the inner engine. That's going to slow down the first stage and act as a makeshift heat shield. That's going to come up in a few minutes. We have a fairing separation right there. Now the Starlink satellites are exposed to the vacuum of space.
Excellent. And those fairings will be recovered as well, right?
Yeah, so those fairings are going to splash down in the Atlantic Ocean. They have parachutes on board, as well as small RCS thrusters. Those are some pretty kind of decked out fairings, if we're being honest here. Unfortunately, SpaceX doesn't really publish information on how often their fairings refly. Those fairings very, very likely have flown several missions before, but we don't know any exact numbers anymore. We have seen recently a fairing half did fly for the 13th time. I think that was about a month and a half ago. So those fairings are really getting up there in flight.
Yeah, it's quite remarkable what they've been able to do with fairings. For the longest time, I was like, but they can't just let them touch seawater. Seawater, the ultimate destroyer, right? But they've found ways to mitigate it, and they're able to just recover these things from the surface of the ocean. They kind of float like giant, I don't know, giant space canoes.
I mean, I would love to just like float around in a fairing. We've seen people walking around in the fairings as they're just floating in the water. So yeah, those fairings, they splash down in the ocean. They did try to catch them before. It sometimes worked, usually didn't. So they were like, screw it, just let it splash down in the ocean. It works. And actually, interestingly, the main thing for fairing reuse is not really about launch cost. It's more about assembly time. So those fairings are carbon composite. They are carbon fiber composites, and they take a while to make. It takes also, they're pretty big structures, so they take up a lot of factory space. So if you wanted to increase production of your fairings, you need a lot of space and a lot of time. And SpaceX doesn't really, they don't want to waste any time. So they decided, let's try to reuse these just to save some production time and try to refurbish them over time. And it has worked wonders so far.
Excellent. Speaking of working wonders, we're coming up on that re-entry burn with Falcon 9's first stage. Is that right?
Yeah, so coming up in about 30 seconds, we're going to see that first stage entry burn. And then about 2 minutes after that, we will see the landing of the first stage. That'll be at T plus 8 minutes and 28 seconds after liftoff.
Good deal. I'm wondering if Max is going to be able to capture that entry burn for us. He has done it in the past. It can be quite a tricky thing to get on camera, but he's still tracking second stage. You can see second stage going strong there.
Yeah.
Good deal. So we'll keep an eye out for that here in just a few seconds.
Yeah, we should have had first stage entry burn start up about 10 seconds ago. And coming up on entry burn cutoff.
There we go. You can see it there on the screen.
You see, you got all three engines there firing.
It's so beautiful.
It's such a cool effect.
It's literally fighting fire with fire. How do you stop excessive heating? Well, burn some Keralox and shroud your vehicle in the colder exhaust plume of Keralox than the superheated plasma that you get with reentry. Speaking of superheated plasma, look at those grid fins.
Yes, that is beautiful.
I love seeing that. That is one of my very favorite things.
Oh, that is excellent.
Awesome.
And yeah, we're seeing that heating because they're really pushing Falcon 9 to its limits. It is flying pretty far down range for a Falcon 9 mission, and they lost signal there. That happens quite often, so nothing worrying there. You can see the second stage, single Merlin vacuum engine with the full-size nozzle there on the right. I love the updated cameras they have on the second stage. It's so clean and crisp. It looks like a pumpkin.
A pumpkin?
Right?
Okay.
The second stage nozzle, yeah. And it's a pretty yellow pumpkin, but it's got like the ribs of a pumpkin. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, we're coming up in about 40 seconds on the first stage landing burn. You can see we're getting some intermittent signal there on the first stage. Again, totally expected on flights like this.
Excellent. So keep your eye on the telemetry. Bottom left, you can see the telemetry for the first stage. Very rapidly scrubbing off its speed as it gets into the thicker part of the atmosphere. And on the right side, the second stage rapidly accumulating velocity as it continues doing its job, thrusting those satellites into orbit. Ian, go ahead.
Drone ship there. Yeah, you see a little white light there on the left side of the first stage camera. Back when it was in view, you can see the drone ship kind of lit up. There it is. You can see it just beyond the left grid fin.
Here we go. Landing burn coming through the clouds. Does it stick the landing on the drone ship? As if there was any doubt. And landing. Look at that.
Amazing.
Dare I say, easy peasy lemon squeezy. SpaceX really making it look like it ain't no thing to land a Falcon 9 on a barge in the middle of the ocean, which is never going to not be remarkable to me.
Now, that was the 177th consecutive successful landing of a Falcon 9 booster, which is crazy to think about, and an incredible achievement by the SpaceX team. And got a nice view here. I think, as Doss likes to say, his favorite sight on launch day is an empty launch pad. See that strong back there retracted about 45 degrees. It's venting off a little extra propellant right now, but the pad is now safing itself, getting ready for crews to come back out there, start refurbishing the pad, bring the strong back in, and put another Falcon 9 on it to launch in probably just a few days from now. So look like a great launch there from Pad 40.
Yeah, strongbacks vent a little bit post-launch when they're happy, I believe is the technical term there. So
Yep.
177 landings in a row. That is the 251st landing of a Falcon 9 first stage, if I am not mistaken. So that is just, I mean, remarkable. I probably say this every launch, but it's never going to get old to me, even when these things are flying basically the same as an airliner. It's just that first stage, lofted a payload into orbit, and then landed on a tiny little barge out in the middle of the ocean. That is
Yep.
just exceptional.
Crazy achievement. Yep.
Good deal. Max, do we have you back?
I would sure hope so. How do you have me?
We have you loud and clear. And speaking of loud and clear, we had excellent audio of that vehicle assembly building squeal. How was that in person?
Magnificent. That was bright. I think the thing when it's super humid and there's a lot of moisture in the air out in these nighttime Florida skies, the air glows differently, and the light has a lot more, I guess, molecules to reflect off of, and so it glows way. Oh my goodness! I just saw a flash of lightning behind the pad. There's some storms out over the ocean right now, but it was beautiful as always, and of course the thick, humid Florida air carried the sound energy very well, and we heard it very loud and clear, as you probably heard through our microphones. And of course, the VAB is squealing like a mother, like usual. It just can't stay quiet nowadays. But yes, it was absolutely glorious. And I just reviewed a pretty tight vertical video that I got from my other camera, and it looks wonderful. I can't wait to show you all that later on.
Vertical video, really, Max? Really?
It's the way the world's going, Jack. It's fine. It's fine.
It's not. It's just not.
Hey, Jack. Let me ask you a question. Okay.
Okay.
What's the
Yeah.
What's the most natural way to shoot a rocket? Landscape or portrait?
Landscape, baby, all day.
False.
I'm just not.
False.
This. I admit, I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, but as a personal preference in terms of my style as a photographer, I almost always shoot landscape. And you know what? Maybe that makes me dumb, but that's just what I do.
I have noticed that Max does a lot of vertical photos, which are great for backgrounds on phones, but Jack does a lot of horizontals, which are great for backgrounds on laptops. So you each win. You both are excellent photographers, and I both have pictures from you saved on my phone and laptop, respectively. So
Ian playing the mediator here. I love it.
So you're saying you're a thief, is what you're saying. You're stealing.
Snap! He got him. Cornered.
I did put photos from you in my presentation for my capstone project, Jack, so you are welcome.
I don't recall approving that. Anyways, just joking around.
Both
good
orientations
deal.
have their benefits. We'll cut it at that.
Look at that. We can be surprisingly measured sometimes with our takes, and we're not
Keyword
always
sometimes.
just doing a tribalism for fun. All right, well, we have an empty pad. That's exactly what we want to see. But something else that we've seen is the crane that was used to assemble the crew access tower has been begun to get disassembled. Right, Max?
Thank the Lord, because that crane was becoming quite intrusive, and it was becoming quite the eyesore, especially with the crew access arm now being in place. It was obstructing the view to the pad very annoyingly. Thankfully, yes, it has begun to be disassembled. From our close-up video, you might actually be able to see from this angle now. About half of it is still up, and you can see it just in front of the crew access tower. But before, the very top of the crane would stick up well above probably where the tops of the lightning towers were, and of course now it isn't, which is a much-needed change of scenery, in my opinion.
Oh, I'm Max. I don't routinely photograph at Starbase day in and day out. I don't like when there's a crane around. I'm not used to it.
Oh no, I'm not Jack. I can't get like 1,000 feet from the pad more often than not. Yay!
Oh, good deal. We got Anonymous coming in with a store purchase saying, I like diamonds. I suspect they got a metal print. In fact, Max, they bought your metal print. Good job.
Thank you so much. That means a lot, genuinely.
Excellent. They also got a calendar. Thank you for the support there, Anonymous. James with a super chat. Thank you. Laura Morgan becoming a Padrat member. The Nozzle gifting a Red Team membership. Mark grabbing something from the store. They say, thanks, NSF team. Appreciate your efforts to cover launches in most climes and places. Well, you're very welcome, Mark. Looks like they got the calendar. Excellent. Hey, the calendar exists. There's 2 different versions. Check it out in the shop if you are so inclined. And you need a calendar for 2024. Apocalypse Cow, another common name we see all the time. Thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Brenda, grabbing something from the store. They say, thanks for all you do. Ooh, they got Into the Blue Sky print. Max, that's also yours. Max, your prints are selling like hotcakes.
That honestly is one of the greatest compliments that anyone can really give, because a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into photographing Flight 2 for Starship. And while tonight's stream, of course, is not about Starship, and I will refrain from talking about it too much.
Wait. Sorry to interrupt, but the transporter
the
record
TE
is going
up.
vertical.
Yep, it is.
Wow, that's so quick after launch.
Nice.
I've never seen that this close after launch. Maybe that happens normally, but that's really cool to see.
That's probably the fastest I've seen over at 40 post-launch. But yes, it is getting faster and faster.
That really ties into the rapid turnaround that they're trying to do. Anyway, back to you, Max. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. I just wanted to say, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into shooting Flight 2, and so for the results to be received as well as they have, it's a huge honor. So thank you very much to everyone who's shown support.
Yeah, it's really remarkable that people enjoy our work so much that they are willing to buy it and put it on their wall and see it every day. It's really, like you said, Max, the biggest compliment that someone could give. So thank you so much. Tree Roller, thank you for the super chat. Hayden, grabbing something from the store. They say, I will push humanity into the future. Looks like they got some metal prints as well. Looks like, I think, both Maxes. Max, you are a print-selling machine.
I certainly try.
Apocalypse Cow gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Thank you, Apocalypse Cow. G Forbes, thank you for the support there. They say the Nozzle Lumpkin, new brand name, I call it. Oh God, don't give Ian and Max ideas. And Ryan with a super chat to close things out. They say the second stage was lower there than intended. Orbit. Do we think there could have been an issue? No, they inject the second stage into an orbit, and then it does sort of a circularization burn, and it's nothing to worry about, right, Ian?
Yeah, in about 40 minutes or so, they're going to ignite the engine again just for a few second burn. So on the initial parking orbit insertion, it's a pretty low orbit in like the high hundreds, low 200s. They're going to recircularize in about 40 minutes. There's nothing to worry about. It's a 2-burn mission.
Alrighty. Well, thank you for that, Ian. And finally, Bideford. Thank you, Bideford, for a very generous super chat. She says, thank you, guys. And we all say thank you, Bideford. Say thank you, Bideford, everybody.
Thank you, Bideford.
Max?
Gracias, Bideford.
All right, there we go. All right, well, with that, I think we will wrap things up as these Starlink satellites progress into their destined orbit. But with that, I think, you know what, Max? We'll let you sign off. Thank you for tracking the rocket for us. Great work there, following it all the way into second stage flight.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. It is a pleasure as always, and of course, it's always a pleasure having everyone else along for the ride as well. So thank you very much.
You can see Max's information there on the top right of the screen. Be sure to follow him on Twitter to get all of his cool imagery as soon as he posts it. We also had Ian on stream. Ian, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your knowledge and wisdom and even your bad takes on polar corridors and nozzles and Hopper's name.
May I first off say that I am unopinionated and I am a neutral person in the polar launch corridor. But either way, thank you for having me on the stream today. It's always great to see another launch and bring all this exciting information to tens of thousands of people. It's a real pleasure to be a part of.
Indeed. Couldn't have said it better myself. And of course, I'm Jack Beyer for NASA Spaceflight. And we also had, once again, Jay Keegan in the background running in the giant human-sized hamster wheel, powering the stream and making things go. So thank you to Jay for that. All right. With that, we'll wrap things up and we'll see all y'all nerds on the next one. But until then, stay frosty.
And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, Atlantic.
Water towers fly! Yes! Tango down to nominal.
Flighting downside FTE off. Say again, FTE off. Off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
Put that in the big bag, you know.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?